Hey Stampers, Diane Dimich here with DDStamps.com, and I want to welcome everybody here today. I'm hoping that you are able to hear me and that everything is going good. If you wanted to make a comment, hit a like or share or something, just let me know that people are out there. That would be great. That helps. One of the things that you are able to hear me and that everything is going good. Sorry, it's definitely live. It comes up on my phone. Let me shut my phone down. Okay, so Carol, glad you're here. Okay, so anyway, I just want to quickly put this out there. If I get bumped off like I did last week, what I will do is I'll just go back to Facebook and I'll start again live and continue on carrying on my demonstration. So if all of a sudden I disappear, refresh your screen and come back on, I'll be live again. I don't know what happened last week. I don't know how that all works, but I did eventually get both videos posted. I wasn't able to meld them together, but that's all right. Good. Well, Norma's here and Bonnie's here. Colleen is here. Great. That's good. So I've got a couple things to show you today. Today is going to be my how did they do that Facebook, and I'm going to focus on Beauty Abounds. This was one of the most intriguing stamp sets I think that we had, and I didn't realize how big these dies were, these butterfly dies were, until I actually saw them on a board that Stampin' Up! Had a display. So I'm going to show these three techniques because there's different techniques in all three of these projects. I got some tips to show you. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's the Beauty Abounds stamp set. And then the coordinating dies. So the coordinating dies, I've got another die here somewhere, but the bigger one. And you will see these are actually what they look like. So this is all one big die, and then this is a second die. And so you can use them together. They layer on top of each other. Or as you can see, you can just cut them and use each butterfly separately. There's a couple of dies in here that coordinate with stamps in the stamp set. So actually, one of the things about this particular die set is that you don't have to have the stamps that coordinate with it. It does cut out those two. Those are the two that coordinate. But other than that, they just look good separate too. So, you know, it's up to you. If you love this stamp set, which I'm having a lot of fun with, I like the different background stamps, and I do love the sayings in here and the fonts. But anyway, a couple of things. So your dies, like this one here, you actually get 4. I actually cut these all out so that I would know how many you got. You get 4 of these so that you can cut several out at the same time. You get 2 of those. And then on this sheet, you get 2, they're similar butterflies, but just a little bit different. And then you get 10 of these little tiny butterflies. And what I did is, what I like to do is that it just uses up a bunch of scraps. And I actually have some extra little tiny ones here. I stick them in, this is a cello envelope. And then I actually put mine in my case with the stamp set. And because I store them all together. So I usually store the stamp set and the dies together. So that way, oh good, Kimberly just ordered this set. Yeah, my daughter, I see people from Minnesota. My daughter lives in Chicago, and so she gets the cold weather that you guys are all having. It's crazy. We have cold weather, but it's just our regular cold weather, and we can go outside and we can walk. But we did get, I don't know, 36 inches of snow in the last week up in the ski area. We probably got 24 at least in town. It's been crazy. The snow's been crazy. Okay, so I'm probably going to forget a bunch of stuff because that's just how I roll. But we'll start with this card here. And what I did is, interestingly enough, I had tried to put these cards together myself just by looking at them and figuring out what they did. And then Stampin' Up! Sent us out for demonstrators a sheet that kind of tells what they used, products they used. So my guessing was good, but not great. But it's okay because they all kind of turned out the same. So this is the card that I made before I knew what they had used. And actually, it's very similar using the same products. And how I did this is I actually cut out the 2 butterflies. One is balmy blue. I'm going to sneeze here. Sorry. One is foamy blue and one is Pacific point. And the nice thing about these is that they can be used just as individual dies, but when you layer them, that's when you get that two-tone color look. So that's how I did this one. And I actually just did little dots of adhesive around here. So today, while I was looking at it, thinking, oh, duh, this is what you need to do. So I'm going to show you quickly how I did the die. So this is the piece of paper, and I used our adhesive sheets. It says that it has these adhesive sheets in our catalog. They're 6 by 12. I actually stuck it to the back of the cardstock, put the die on there, and when I pulled off the die, you can see that it pulled off the adhesive sheet. This adhesive sheet was protecting the other half of the adhesive, and it's still in the die. So that's why my die was missing when I first showed it. But I didn't want to pull this off because this is all sticky, and I wanted to see what would be the easiest way to adhere it together, and I think I found how to do that. So I'm going to lay down, this is the balmy blue one, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this die and I'm going to line it up, and you can see, hoping that this works. This kind of I thought it might work in my head. I know, weird, but it might even be better to go this way. But what I want to do is I want to line them up exactly on top of each other, which can be done. Because they're both the same size dies. Once I've done that, I am going to go ahead and pull that die. I'm going to pull that butterfly, and you've got to be gentle with this because this one here is really delicate, this particular die. Here I thought my bright idea, I think it's going to work. Some of these, see how they stick? So it's probably best to go in, with a scissor or a pokey tool and push that out. A little fussy, but you know what? It's beautiful when it's done. Fix that one. See how this one's sticking here a little bit? And I should have poked that with. Okay, so all I need to do then is come back in here and just straighten that up. Straighten this up. And then you can see how you put those two butterflies together. And that gives you this butterfly down here. So, super easy to do your background. So you're just going to take a piece of Whisper white cardstock, and this was actually 8.5 by 11, cut in half at 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, folded over is your half size. The colors that they used, and I think I guessed right, were Daffodil Delight and Lemon Lime Twist, and these are just background stamps, and as you can see, they're going to give you enough dimension because I'm going to pull this off here, because they've used that technique that they have where it's dots, so they can do kind of like a TV, old TV, I guess, more or less. You can make it dimensional. So get the fuzz off there, ink this up. So I'm just tapping this lightly in the Lemon Lime Twist, and as I stamp it around, and I can actually stamp it up, you can see how you get that dimension with the bubble just automatically because of the way the stamp is made. And then I'll come in with some Daffodil Delight. And I'm not pushing real hard, I'm just kind of tapping into the, tapping into the ink pad. And that truly is how they got that background. And then, as you'll see on here, I just put a little piece of, I actually put it onto a gray background, and I cut my Whisper White down so that a gray strip came down here. And this is actually the base of the card, is that. Let me see what color it is. Gray granite. And then just a little embellishment. And so I used the stitch circles, I used a little silver twine, and then this ribbon, this textured weave ribbon in the Lemon Lime is so pretty. But that's how they made this card. And that's how you put them together with the adhesive sheets. But you can use other adhesive. You don't need to have the adhesive strips, but they sure work great with those detailed stamps. Okay. I am going to, if you guys only saw the mess that I've got going on here, it's crazy. Yes, it's a distinctive stamp. Thank you, Colleen. Colleen asked if this stamp set was a distinctive stamp, and actually these two dots are distinctive. That's how you get the different looks. So thanks for asking about that. Okay, so the next card I'm going to show, like I said, I'm not going to show everything because what I did is you don't really need the whole card base. I don't know what I was thinking, but I just cut it down to here. So this is 4 1/4 here, and I'm going to cut it down to 3 3/4. And that's what I loaded on. That's what I added to my card base of green granite. So that's the card. Simple, pretty good, easy to do. I'll have you know that I do have dogs in the room today because we have workers at the house. So they're in here with me. Hopefully they will behave. We'll see. Okay, so the next card I'm going to show is this one. This was one of my favorite cards. And I made a good attempt to completely copy what Stampin' Up! Had done. And I used watercolor paper, and I used Pacific Point, and lemon lime, and daffodil, and I think mango. And that actually is not the colors that they used. So today I'm going to try it with the paper and the colors that they use and see if it comes up differently. But you can see how you can use all those 10 little tiny dies. That's what I used to cut these out. So I just used scraps of paper and cut a bunch of butterflies. This is actually cardstock. So this is cardstock put right onto the card with just a little glue dot. And then this is the oval, the layering ovals, and I stamped it with StazOn because the StazOn will dry on the vellum. And the little tip I got for you here is stamp this and set it aside for a while or hit it with a heat gun. Because I did get a little bit of smearing when I put that through and the vellum, the ink wasn't quite totally dry. So, hi Betty, I love the butterflies too. Okay, so Stampin' Up! Used the shimmer paper. And so this is a piece of shimmer paper that I've cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to use an aqua painter. And then they came in, and of course their color list was a little bit more involved than mine. They had Petal Pink, Daffodil Delight, Coastal Cabana, Pacific Point, Old Olive, and Lemon Lime. Yeah, Lemon Lime Twist. So these are the colors that Stampin' Up! Used. Now, a couple of things to do this with. You can actually just put a couple drops on, like, into a piece of plastic. This probably isn't big enough because I have so many colors. Oh, and they also had Grapefruit Grove. Sorry, that was kind of floating around in here. You can use a disc. This is like a painter's. I don't know, I got this at the craft store. I'm sure it was inexpensive. To use to watercolor with. You could use a stamp case that you have, anything that has a little bit of plastic on it to use as your palette. I'm going to go ahead and use this. And so I'm going to start with, I think I'll start with the upper colors here. So a Grapefruit Grove. And I'm not going to put a ton of color in here because I can always add more. Petal, oops. Petal Pink, that one got kind of carried away. Daffodil Delight. Oh yeah, that's enough. The one thing you have to remember is what color is what. And then my Lemon Lime. So you can see I'm kind of putting these in here in the order that I'll probably use them. And then a little Old Olive. Just hold on, just a second. I'm going to run and open the door. They can hear people in the house, and it's driving them crazy. And I'll put a little Petal Point in this, or a Pacific Point in that one, just so that I know what color's which. Just a second. Let me let the dogs out. You going out? 1, 4. course, only one wants to go out. Okay, so I'm coming in with an aqua painter, and I have the container full of water. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze my aqua painter to get that water flowing so that the water's flowing to the brush. And because there's a coating on the shimmer paper, there's kind of a coating on it, it holds up well to water. You know, it's not like watercolor paper. That's what I used for mine on this one, where I can put tons of water and it holds up fairly well. But if you put some water onto your cardstock. So I'm putting water where I want the ink to be. And then I'm just going to come in with a little color and dab it on there. And that color is going to move. It's going to go places that you're not really sure that's what you wanted, but that's what you get. It's just how it works. And so then with an aqua painter, you want to clear off that ink. I usually just use my fingers or a piece of paper or something next to me. And then just keep adding a little color in. I got a little carried away with the yellow. And then we'll go in with a little lemon lime. A little old olive. I'm going to run out of space here. But you can see how you can just blend in those colors. Oops. And then this color. Woo! That one's dark. Okay, so all those colors are in there that Stampin' Up! Used. You have no control really, except for where your water is, on where your colors go, but you can go back in and add more color. And like I said, you don't want to get and then you'll get these runners on the sides here, and I'll come in like with a Kleenex just because it's so wet and just do a little touch up and it just, as you can see, picks up some of the water that's just there. But that's it. I mean, it's really super easy, simple background, totally out of your control, but fun colors. So this is what I would say. Stampin' Up! Used a lot of colors, and I only used 4. I actually like the 4 colors better. I just think that I had more control. This is great, and as I said, it'll dry. It'll look totally different here in a few, once it's dry. It's probably not going to take very long. But why get so complicated when you can make it so much easier? Does that make sense? Anyway, yeah, the colors are beautiful. There's no doubt. And I just use re-inker. And what I find is that when I use just re-inker, I get a bolder color. I get bolder. So you can use your ink pads, and I'm going to show that watercoloring with your ink pads today too. You can use those, and they work great, and you'll get lots of bold colors. But when you go directly with just the re-inker, it is just really bold. So that's it. So this is the card base, and then you put on your oval, and then you add on your butterflies, and that card is complete. And actually, if I were to do this over, I would have used this would have been my total card base. But what I'll do with this is I will trim it down, and I'll add it to a card base. That's what I did with this one. Just a piece of watercolor paper onto a Whisper White. And I'll do the same thing with this one. I'll add this on to Whisper White and call it good. But truly, you get to put your water where you want it, and that's kind of how your card blends out. It goes where the water is. Water spreads more on the shimmer paper because the water is actually sitting on the top of the paper as opposed to the watercolor paper. So it'll be interesting to see when this dries what blends and what it looks like. I like it. It's cool. Kind of a fun, easy technique, and it makes you feel really artsy. Cool. Okay, so now the last one. Look at my hands. Actually, it was clean when I got started today. Like I said, I have a lot of mess here. So the last one I started was this one. And this was my attempt to, oh, I gotta let the other dog out just a second. So this was my attempt at, to figure out what Stampin' Up! Had done with this card here. And it was just by looking at it that I did my best. And I came up with this one, and I haven't quite finished it. And now that I've actually seen the colors that they used, I used the correct colors. the technique is a little bit different. So I'm going to tell you how I did this one, and then I'm going to show you how Stampin' Up! Did it. So what I did to do this was I took one of my images that I die cut. So this is the part I cut out. And I actually laid this onto watercolor paper, and then I used my aqua painters. And I just painted water in there and then added color so that it kind of stayed where the butterflies were. It just seemed like that's what must be what they did. And that's how I ended up with this. And this is how they did it. I always find it interesting. So they took the actual die. Oh, I'm going to pop these out here. I've got some. I have some, see some of those stuck in my holes, and I actually need these for this particular technique. I want really as many holes open as I can get. Maybe. Oh, there you go. You know, we have a die brush for a reason, and I usually have it out on my counter. So this is what I usually do. I usually have it inside a wooden frame or a wooden box, and then I, lay the die on there, and I kind of keep it all control. It gives me a little bit of control. Not much, but a little bit of control. And I just need to learn to use it more. Okay. So what happened was, what they did was, this is a piece of watercolor paper, and I'm going to lay this die down. I still have some more in there. One. Just one. Sorry. Okay. So I'm just going to lay this on here. This. I'm actually going to come in, and they use two different colors. So they use Lovely Lipstick, and they use Petal Pink. And what I was talking about was you squish your ink pad, squish it, and then you pop it open, and then you have a palette. So that's got the ink in it that I'm going to use. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. The other thing I can use these for palettes if I want to, I'm probably going to need more ink than this, is I can actually take a re-inker of the same color. So this is Petal Pink. I always have to check if this is Petal Pink. So I can add a couple drops in there, and that gives me a really nice palette, and it's not going to hurt the ink pad. Let me grab the other Lovely Lipstick, re-inker, because I think this is going to take more ink than I think. Oh, I'm a poet. Okay, so Lovely Lipstick and Petal Pink. And then what they did is they took their aqua painter, and we're using watercolor paper. You're going to get that water flowing, and then you're going to put water right where you want that ink to be, and then come in with color, drop it in. And then, I'm just wiping this off on a Kleenex, I'll come in with some of that. Woo! That is the right color. Put some more color in there, because I don't want it to be perfect. That color off of there. Add some water. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking maybe my idea was easier with using it as a die. Plop some color, and it doesn't matter if the color has water. I mean, really, the more water, the better, because it's going to blend better. Drop in some petals, pink. Drop in some, woo, like it. But you can see the water, how it's, and then, I'm just gonna keep going. I really think that it's that lipstick that adds the bold color. And the last one. Okay, so this was the part, once I got this part done, and you can see I am not being careful because I don't have to be. It's supposed to be watercolored. I'm going to pull this up, We got some funky looking flowers, some funky looking butterflies. I'm just gonna wipe this off. This I'll probably run out and take it out into my kitchen and run it under the faucet just for a minute. I don't want lipstick everywhere. Okay, so let me show you what I did. What I actually did is I laid this down. Same concept, only I added water, you know, into the whole thing. I think this works better. You didn't have as much control, but it's watercolor. So I'm just going to show you what I did. And then I dropped in more color. And it isn't perfect. Doesn't need to be, it's watercolor. If I were going to do this over, I probably would have done more of the petal pink first. That's what it looked like. Now this is the part where I messed up. When I was making my card, I couldn't wait for it to dry. But if you wait for it to dry, you won't have so much bleeding. And then you come back in and you know, you can go ahead, like I said, with a tissue and pick up some of those wet spots. This is going to have to be another card that I'm going to totally finish when I'm done. And I'll put a picture up on Facebook and my blog. But what I did here is I didn't totally wait for it to dry, and I went ahead and I added in the Old Olive and the Pear Pizzazz. And you can see how it all bleeded out a lot. This one I'm going to wait for the lovely lipstick and the pink petal to dry, and then I'll do the Old Olive. And the other thing that Stampin' Up! Did, and so this is just a piece of watercolor paper, and it's just attached to a white, Whisper White base. I cut out Whisper White butterflies. I added some of that ribbon, the same ribbon, for my other card. And then it's all put on a petal pink base with just a little bit of light, I don't know if you can see it, a little bit of light stamping around the back. Okay, so when I got the list, the supply list, Stampin' Up! Had actually used the glitter paper. And this is going to be like the crowning moment because it just totally takes this part up a notch. So when I'm done with this whole production today, I'm going to actually put my cards together, and I'm going to use this. I cut this out with the glitter paper. So I'll have two different cards to compare. What I did and what they did. It's very similar. So I will have the measurements up. I hope I'm still live. Looks like I am. Cool. This needs to dry. When this dries, I'm going to come in with the exact same thing, only this time I won't have a template. I will just add, that's beginning to dry, getting close. So I will just come in with like water along here and add in Pear and Old Olive and let it dry. This one you can really see the petal pink in. The other one's not so much. Doesn't mean I couldn't come in and add some in there. I just don't know if it's going to show up. That lovely lipstick is pretty overpowering, but it's still pretty. It still makes for a nice card. So there you have it. Pat Robertson is the winner this week from last week's video live. So comment and like it, share it, love it. Do all those things. That's how you get in the drawing. And is there anything else? Come to the end of the month. There's a couple of products that are Stampin' Up! I'm going to move this before I totally smear it and I don't have anything to use. So I just want to stop for a minute. There's a couple things that are on back order. Doesn't mean we're not getting it. We will have them back. It's the butterfly punch. This punch here is on back order, but we'll be back, I think, the end of March. That cake builder. And the butterfly punch that goes with. So just so you're aware, if you choose to order those items, it's going to come up back ordered. This right here is on back order. And I think that the gingham paper is on back order too. So anyway, just so you're aware of that, both of those punches I believe are coming out too in the next catalog. But so they will be back in stock soon. if there's anything, any questions you have, now would be the time to answer, or any questions you have now would be the time to ask, because I can actually see the comments today. That's good. Yeah, Emilu, I did I think mine is easier than using the die. I think just taking your old scrap, and really it's just a piece of cardstock, so if it's just, you're gonna throw it away anyway, you might as well use it for something else. So any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm out. February's coming. This is the last couple days of January. This is the hostess code for January. The tutorial for January is pretty cute. And I got another cute one coming in garage. It's the garage, the geared up stamp sets, or stamp set and paper. Those of you who did place a $50 order with me this month know that you have a packet of goodies coming, and I will get that order tomorrow. They will be here next week, and I usually try to get them in and out of here within a couple of days, so expect to see those by the end of the next week. And I can't think of anything else. So thank you, and have a great day. And I will kind of monitor the questions to see if anybody has any more questions that I missed. So I will talk to you soon. Thank you.